So here's Wednesday's Candy Challenge answers. I started to record it before and I got a phone call, so I'm sorry for the markings already. But we'll just start over. So Isla has 2 bears, 8 blue bears, 2 red bears, 8 blue bears, and 4 black bears. What is the probability of her getting another red bear? Well, when you draw them out and you look at them, you can see that red has the fewest amount, blue has the most, and black has in the middle. So we know it's not certain because that means it would only be red bears. If it was impossible to get red, then there would be no reds. If it was likely, that means it would have more reds than anything else. So it would be unlikely, which is a synonym for less likely, because you can still get a red, but it's probably not going to happen. It's more likely to be something else. So for this one, we want to draw 18 squares, turn half of them into presents. Well, we know for half, it would be doubles. So we know 9 plus 9 makes 18. So we would want to make sure that 9 of the boxes or the squares were turned into presents. And you want to make sure that the other ones, they can look like whatever presents they want, but make sure the other ones are not turned into presents at all. They need to be something different, or they need to just remain as regular boxes or squares. So next one is, what is the fraction of the heart above? Well, when you count the pieces, here's your starting line. There is 1 piece, 2 pieces, 3 pieces, 4 pieces to get to one whole. This little line has been split into 4 pieces. So in fractions, we know that all the pieces, I like to say they're so heavy because it's all of them, they fall to the bottom as the denominator. So out of those 4 pieces, the heart is at 1, 2, 3. It is at the third out of 4 pieces, so 3/4. The next one, it says Paxton has 5 quarters, 2 dimes, and 8 pennies in his piggy bank. Heather has 4 quarters, 8 dimes, 3 nickels, and 10 pennies in her piggy bank. Who has more? The big question is not what is more, who has more? So the answer is going to be a name. And we gave a hint that you really probably need to draw these out or use coins or something to figure it out. That will help from silly mistakes being made. So I started to draw out Paxton's coins. You can label quarters with a Q. You can label them with a 25 cents. Whatever will help you to remember. Now, I know that 4 quarters makes $1. So I like to stress that whenever you make it to $1, put them in a group, whatever that means for you. So here's 5 quarters. I'm going to draw my 2 dimes, and I like to put them in order from what's worth the most. And then I have my 8 pennies. So I'm going to put them in 4 and 4 just because I like doubles. Makes it easy to count. I know I've got $1 and that's 100. So then one thing we did talk about was hairy money. So every hair a coin gets is worth 5. So quarters would get 5 hairs. Dimes are worth 10 cents, so they would get 5 10. They would get 2 hairs. And pennies are bald because they're just worth 1. So if your child starts talking about hairy money and you're like, what in the world is that? This is what it means. Every hair is worth 5. So then they can count 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45, 46, 47, 48, 49, 50, 51, 52, 53. So I know Paxton has $1.53 or 153 cents. Now for Heather, I'm going to draw hers out, and I automatically know that 4 quarters makes $1, but I'm going to go ahead and draw them anyway. And I'm actually going to make my group of $1 right here. Then I'm going to draw my 8 dimes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 3 nickels, 1, 2, 3, and 10 pennies. 1, 2, I like to do a 10 frame. 3, 4, and I should have done this on the back where I have more room. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And I hope yours will look much neater than mine. If they want to do hairy money, dimes get 2 hairs each. Nickels get 1 because it's worth 5. And pennies get nothing because they're worth 1. Another way to do this is to try to get to 100 cents. So I know that this makes 80 cents because there's 8 dimes. I know that these two make 10 cents together. So that makes 90, 95, 96, 97, 98, 99, 100. So I like to circle every time I make 100 cents. I like to put it into a group. So I have $1, $2, and I still have 5 cents left over. So that means Heather would have $2.05. So now I can answer my question. Who has more? Well, I know that $2 is greater than $1, so the answer would be Heather. When we go to fill in the missing numbers, use fact families. We like to say there's a little, and a big. If you're missing a little, you can use the big to take away the little, or start at the little that's given and count up to the big to help you figure it out. For this one, we're missing a little because when you add, you get this as the big. So I like to think, I could do 16 take away 9, or 9, count up to 16, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. My answer would be 7. For subtraction, I know this is my biggest one, and here's my little one. So I could flip-flop these two, or I could start at 13 and count till I get to 19 if I wanted to. So I'm going to start at 13 and count till 19. We start at 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. It takes 6. For 7, I can count up till I get to 20, or I could say 20 take away the 7. What do I get? And I've been practicing my make a 10 facts, and I know that it takes 7 plus 3 to make 10. So 10 more would be 13. Now for this one, we're subtracting and we're missing the big guy. That means these are the two littles. So if I put these two littles together and add them, they're going to make the big, which would be 15. Over here, it says circle the larger fraction below. Well, we were thinking about which shaded portion is larger. If you did which non-shaded portion is larger, that would be a different answer. But if you were looking at the shaded portion, this one would be larger. However, if your child said, oh, it's the non-shaded, I compared the 2 pieces here and the 1 piece here, then it would be that one. But if you're looking at the shaded, it would be this piece. And since we're still talking about it, circle the smallest fraction. We meant for it to be shaded. So the smallest fraction, when you look at it, you would think that, oh, if I drew a line right here, that would be the same. But there's this little bit of extra that's shaded in, so this one would be smaller. So you would circle this. But if you were looking at the smallest fraction that is not shaded, it would be this one. So it depends on how your child interpreted it since it wasn't in the directions. Zoe has 78 points and Mallory has 37 points. About how many points do they have in all? 2 clues. About means we want to know an estimate. What is it close to? And another one is we want to know in all, which means we need to put their points together. We don't want to know an exact answer. We want to know an estimate. So we know that 78 plus 37 would give us our answer. But since we don't need to find that out, we want to know, what's it about? So 78 would round to, the 8 rounds it up to the nearest 10, which would be 80. The 7 in the ones place rounds the 37 up to 40. And when we add them together, we get 120. So it would be 120 points. Fill in the correct math problem for each below. Now they didn't have to write it in the line, but they could if they wanted to. When you add these up and you check them, you find out that the answer is C. For the next one, 13, when you subtract them, you find out the answer is B. And finally, Sue counted 18 people at the pool on Saturday. Later that afternoon, 29 more people came, but then 2 left. How many people were left at the pool? This is actually a multi-step problem. There's 2 things that have to happen. We like to think what happened at the beginning, what happened at the start. There were 18 people, and then what happened? 29 more came. So we want to add it. Now, we can add this way, we can draw it, and there's another way that we've talked about that could work. That you might see a lot of nowadays. We could say 8 plus 9 makes 17. Carry the 1. 1 plus 1 is 2, plus 2 more is 4. Or we could say, oh, this is the same thing as 10 plus 20, which makes 30. This is the same thing as 8 plus 9, which makes 17. And when I add 30 and 17, I get 47. So that's another way you could do it. But we're not done because as soon as those 47 people were there, 2 people left. So 47, take away those 2, we now have 45 people who were left. And another option would be you could draw it out with base 10 blocks. If you wanted to draw 18, 10, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. You want to add 29, 10, 20. I'm going to start adding my 9 with what I already have. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I made a 10. So I'm going to move it over here, just like we did right here. I have 7 left over in the ones place, and I have 4 in the tens place. But then I had 2 people who left, which takes this 7 to a 5, and I now have 45. So lots of ways to answer it. As long as they can explain what they did, you're good to go.